I just had a question with you about the sins. I wanted to know what's their connection with the seven chakras with Christianity. What are your thoughts on that?
There are seven ethers, there are seven parallel realities, and there's a different you in each one of these realities, but each you is tethered together and you can't escape neither one of your versions. You explore these other layers of yourself when you dream. Now, what are the seven deadly sins and how do they relate to the seven ethers and the seven parallel realities and the seven other versions of you that we access through these seven portals called chakras? Because the chakras are nothing but seven gateways inside of man, the seven gates to heaven. The stairway to heaven is the central nervous system. And there are seven gates on the stairway, seven gates, and it's seven chakras that lead to seven parallel realities. And our consciousness can travel to each of the seven because of the seven chakras. The seven chakras are wheels. The word chakra means wheel, and wheels are made to get man from point A to point B. So just like the wheels of a car, these chakra wheels are transportation devices helping the soul travel. But now how this relates to your question is that each version of you is trapped in its own parallel reality because of one of the seven deadly sins. Each of the chakra vortex points occupies a certain, what I would call a buildup of energy and what makes up our being. And what makes up our being is our sexuality, our appetite, our mentality, our speech, the way we speak, the way we talk, all of that is a different chakra, a throat chakra, your stomach chakra, there are different names from your sex chakra. But what all of these chakras are what's connecting your body in this world to your other bodies in the parallel realities. And let me break this down with the seven Hermetic principles and the seven deadly sins. Each you in its own world is trapped there because it's struggling with one of these seven major energy points. So yeah, there's a universe out there where you're a glutton and it may not even be obesity and food, but there's something related to each chakra that culminates to a vice. And in order for our soul to pass through that chakra, it must overcome that particular vice associated with that chakra, because each chakra is essentially a gateway, and the gateway cannot open until you beat the devil up in that particular realm. So there are seven layers to our being, and the seven chakras represent a gateway to each version that is personifying and embodying each layer. We're not just one person in one world. We are a group, a hive mind of our own layered consciousness, bound to its own different vices in each reality. So there are worlds out there where there are things that, for example, there's a parallel reality, right? Where your anger is getting the best of you in that world. Now, in this world, you may say, I don't got anger issues. But in another parallel reality, there's a layer of you that got to work out this part of you deep in our psyche, buried deep in the mind is more, it's a labyrinth, and it expands beyond the physical realm into parallel realms. It's layered like an egg, and that's what these ethers are. The seven wandering stars are seven gateways in the sky above us. Jupiter, Mercury, we must conquer each one of these Greek gods that's ruling over a layer of our consciousness. Now, what I'm giving people now is the true knowledge of salvation before you just believe in a blood sacrifice.
I just had one more question, because I'm trying to see the parallels between Christianity and the chakras and stuff. So I know you talked about the awakening, so I wanted to know about that in terms of Christ consciousness.
Kundalini awakening is just when we open up all of these vortexes and the soul is able to be free. The soul will then be awakened to the real world. Kundalini is just another word for soul, the flame within man. Our soul is said to be a flame of fire that cannot be extinguished. Isn't that dope? And when you say the word Kundalini, you're saying Kundal is candle, like a candle that's burning. So Kundal is literally the word candle, which showing you there's a light. This Kundalini is a flame inside of man that's waiting to rise out the darkness. In other words, our light is waiting to shine. You're like this bright ass light bulb, but you're inside of a cave. So can't nobody see your shine. But when we come out the cave, like what Plato said, then behold, in the real world, when we step out of this simulation, all of the beings on the other side, it's like a high school graduation. Every student that walks up on the stage are really walking into the real world and out of school, which is a simulation, a controlled environment. They're going into the real world, right? And they're symbolic of that is walking across the stage. And when they stand up on the stage is what our soul is doing on top of Mount Meru or Mount Calvary. The body is dying, the soul is entering, is graduating, is entering the real world. And the thing about that is when our soul enters the real world, just like a graduation, there will be people cheering for every student. So like Plato's cave, right? Plato said there were people leaving out of this cave world that they thought was real. And you can imagine everybody in that cave that was dumbed down and zombified, once they walk out the cave, everybody that already walked out the cave before them is going to be like, yeah, another one made it out, of the fake ass world. So it's like you're a real beautiful shining light, but don't nobody know because you're in a simulation. You ain't even in the real world. You're like a seed that's a beautiful tree, but don't nobody know because you buried in the dirt. And the only way out the dirt is transformation and breaking through the shell casing and turning into a tree and going up beyond the surface.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering how that all links to Christ consciousness from Christianity religion, like the parallels between what you're saying and that itself.
Christ wasn't a literal person. Christ was personifying the Kundalini. Have you ever heard of the Kundalini rising up and that our Kundalini must be lifted up?
Yes, I have. From the tailbone, they say it rests and it rises from there to the crown chakra.
Don't you see the parallel between them saying that Jesus must be lifted up and that your Kundalini must be lifted up? Because Jesus wasn't a literal person. He was just a personification of the soul within man, and it wasn't literal. So that's why the symbol of Jesus was a serpent. In Moses' time, Moses lifted up a serpent. Moses said what? The serpent must be lifted up. Remember that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And guess what we teach? That the Kundalini must be lifted up within man. And guess what the symbol of the Kundalini is?
The serpent.
There you go. So what happens is when we believe in a literal white dude on the cross, we forget about the true path of salvation within the self. It's an external belief versus an internal knowing. That's why I say I'm a Gnostic. The word Gnostic is based upon knowledge. This is inner knowledge versus external belief. I can externalize a belief in a blood sacrifice, or I can go with the internal knowledge that's telling me when I do wrong, I fucked up. And that's why I feel so bad. If Christ's blood is forgiving me for my sin, why the hell do I still feel bad about it? If God said, listen, I forgive you, Sanchez, for killing that person, why God still got me feeling bad about it? How come a soldier got PTSD? Why the soldier got to see a therapist out the war? If God bless America, God sanction his actions, Christians will even tell you that everything happening on earth is the will of God. It can't be. If it was the will of God, God wouldn't make me feel bad about it. I'm pretty sure of that. And this is an internal fact versus someone externally trying to make me believe it's okay with what you're doing, Sanchez. It's okay if you killing for us, right? When I can feel in my heart, it ain't okay. So it's a matter of internal facts versus external belief.
That makes sense. Thanks for answering my questions.
And thanks for having great questions too. What's on your mind, my brother? We got some 5 topics going today. What's on your mind?
Okay, first I wanted to say thank you because I've been having dreams and stuff and thinking about that for a long time with the graduation and all that. And you just confirmed a whole bunch of stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I really appreciate that. But
No
my,
doubt.
my question is, now, you know, Christians and all that believe in God or whatever. I just don't understand the story that you tell. That story is so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? That's telling you you're an eternal being, that you'll never die. Why would you want to stick with a story that you die and go into hell and all that? Why you don't just,
Fear.
bro, is that strong?
Yeah. You know how they think. I've talked to Christians for hours and I've gotten through to them. And at the end of it, I've heard Christians tell me, I can't deny what you saying, brother. What you saying make a lot of sense. And I gotta admit, man, you know, I feel what you saying, but what am I losing to just believe? Because if it is real, then at least I believe and I can still go to heaven. So to them, they looking at it, kid God, like we walking into the store and the store owner giving out free lottery tickets. What you got to lose for not scratching the back of that thing off? It's a win-win, right? Even if I don't win the lottery, at least I played my free card, right?
True that, true that.
And that's how they looking at it, but it ain't like that. Really, it ain't free. And they paying a lot for their belief, because what they're paying is their consent to Zionism and to manifest destiny and world conquest.